What's up YouTube? Today we are looking at the update for one of my favorite plugins, Infiltrator. So the update introduces a host of time-based effects like reverse, time stretch, and all sorts of things, but it also introduces a host of unique spectral effects that I don't think we've seen in any other multi-effects plugin before. They've also added a couple of unique filter modes and a new vocoder for those alien vocal type effects. They've improved the modulation system, so each slot not only has the kind of LFO envelope that you had before, it's got an additional one. So the audio envelope that was kind of baked in there that, to be honest with you, I didn't use all that much, can now be changed into a traditional LFO style envelope. Anyway, without blabbering too much, let's dive in and have a look at the new update for Infiltrator. Okay, let's dive right in. So I've got a simple loop that I've put together here using Playbeat with my latest expansion that I've released with Audio Modern. It's actually free. If you do own Playbeat, you should definitely go check that out. It's a nice way of being able to quickly get these examples and then, for example, like make a lead or something. So I had a lead in mind and I didn't really want to sit and make a whole beat before I could contextualize the lead. So now we have a kind of beat to work with. I really like Infiltrator as a kind of mangler, mess stuff up kind of plugin. And it's really cool to do these kinds of sequenced effects in this plugin. So I have done a tutorial on how to do similar stuff with SnapHeap. Although that being said, it's a little bit more CPU intensive in SnapHeap, and it takes a bit more time to get this kind of thing going. So for example, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the sequencer over here. So if we press play, you'll notice that it kind of like sequences through these different effects. And we can kind of choose when each effect plays and all sorts of things. So we can stack different effects up. I'm just going to kind of just put in random stuff here. And we can always go back and fine tune it a little bit later. And we can actually select all of these and randomize as well, which is pretty cool. And we can change the speed at which it's running through the bars. So for these kinds of glitchy, mangling type of effects, it's so cool to get this kind of stuff going really, really quickly. So if we jump in here, I just want to add a couple of loops here. And so what the loop is basically like a retrigger effect. So if we just paint it onto all of these blocks, you'll hear it kind of just retriggers that effect. So here, for example, we can actually either modulate the speed, or we could have different effects triggered with different layers of speed. So what I like to do is a little bit of both. So for example, we could also take advantage of the new modulation system in Infiltrator. If we select envelope 2 over here from this little drop-down menu, what this does is this allows us to not only change envelope 1 and envelope 2 as two individual kind of LFO curves, but in the previous version you couldn't actually choose which parameter it was sending to. So this is really cool because now by default this sends to the speed parameter, and we can actually send this to something else like the tempo. So we can actually even further tune the sound, so we can modulate the tempo and the speed of this retrigger effect. And so like with the first envelope we can modulate the speed. So now we're getting this kind of variated response here. And we can also change the time of each of these envelopes individually. Check this out. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. I like that. So now what I'm going to do is just copy this to this slot. And now we can actually just remove it from some of the hits here and put some in here. And now we can jump into this one and change the modulations here. We can randomize it. We can choose from a select bank of presets. So it's very quick to kind of get this stuff going. I love this plugin for doing this kind of thing, especially if you kind of like a little bit, you got a little bit of creative block and you just want to make these mud pies or cherry pies. It's definitely one of my favorite ways to do this. Okay, so I've just realized I've done this incorrectly. We want to actually do this. We can take that idea further, copy it again onto this one, and then here, let's say, variate it in between these two. So at no 2 points do we have the loopers playing at the same time, but it's a combination of all of these effects together. And of course we have the mix knob, so you can kind of like use this as a transition effect from one bar into the next, you know, just mix it in, then mix it out again. Okay, so obviously these are extreme examples, just bear this in mind. As I think in the previous Infiltrator video I did, a lot of people said that the examples weren't extreme enough, so they couldn't really hear exactly what the plugin was doing, so I'm overdoing it a little bit on purpose in this video. So I want to look at some of the really interesting new effects that they've added. So to select the effects, we jump over to this menu over here by clicking on the button, and you'll actually notice they've added a couple of extra effects here in the corner. We've got now stretch, reverse, slow, vary speed. We've got a vocoder, but we've also got a whole extra page of stuff here. Not only utilities, but we've also got these spectral effects. So this is where the real magic of Infiltrator V2 is in these spectral effects, in my opinion. These are wild. I'm not even going to begin to explain what these are doing, but you can just imagine that they're breaking the sound into little partials, and then you're able to, using various different algorithms, you're able to manipulate those partials. So it's almost like taking a sound, turning it into an additive sound, and then warping the kind of relationship between the partials. So each of these spectral effects basically has a different way of warping those partials. These are really, really cool for just almost creating like textures out of almost any source. So again, like for creating weird inspiration from nowhere, these things can get really, really helpful. So we can maybe just use this to take the sound that we have and kind of take it in a completely different direction. Okay, so obviously because it's a spectral effect now, the plugin delay compensation kicks in. So if your DAW is a little bit sketchy with that kind of thing, you might notice a bit of latency now. Bitwig handles it pretty well, so I didn't actually notice any difference. And then with each of the spectral effects, you've actually got this window over here, which can change the amount of partials that it breaks the sound down into. So this will affect your CPU usage. So for example, the higher you set it, the more CPU usage it's going to use. That being said, it's also going to make that sound a little bit more higher resolution. You're going to hear less of a bit crushing effect with the effects. So I guess it's not always about setting it to the highest and using that because it sounds better, it's higher quality. Use this creatively. You know, if you do want to impart a bit of a lo-fi, almost bit crushy type of thing, change the FFT size down a little bit if you want, you know. We can also cycle through the effects using this button over here. Damn, this rotate sounds amazing. Oh, amazing. So of course you can stack these up. See, like now we've made this weird texture out of a trance beat. Now what we can do is maybe just change the tempo here, get like a groove going. And now we can go in and like start randomizing these, for example, to create variations on what we did here. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think I forgot to mention that the update is actually free to anybody who owns Infiltrator V1. So if you own Infiltrator V1, definitely go check that out. And I think they're also doing an introductory offer for the next little while for those who haven't got the plugin. And I definitely highly suggest it. It is, in my opinion, not only the most intuitive, but one of the quickest and easiest to use multi-effects plugins. Not to mention the host of incredible presets that come built in there. Anyway, see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Cheers.